My name is Sydney McMiniman. Today I will be discussing the importance of the Brigance Comprehensive Inventory of Basic Skills Revised Version Assessment. One of the most important things to think about is how to properly administer the assessment. It is so important to correctly administer the test for many reasons. This test gives a multitude of information, including the strengths and weaknesses of the students who are taking the assessment. Because this test uses everyday life questions, the test allows teachers to observe the skills students have for everyday situations. This assessment can also qualify as the educational portion for identifying learning disabilities or giftedness and help make a referral for special education programs. Lastly, when this test is administered properly, it provides grade and age equivalents, percentiles, and quotients in 6 different areas under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, such as reading skills and comprehension, math calculations and reasoning, written language, and listening comprehension. Assessment protocol is also very important because without it, the assessment cannot be properly administered. A teacher or a teaching assistant with supervision can administer the assessment. The amount of time the test takes is based on which subtests are being given and can be administered over several days or sessions depending on the needs of each student or class. The test can be given to students in grades pre-kindergarten through 9th grade. There are 4 subtests available within this assessment. These subtests consist of 154 different questions. The 4 subtests include readiness, reading, language arts, and mathematics. The readiness subtest includes but is not limited to following verbal instructions, verbal fluency, counting, letter naming, drawing shapes, and gross motor coordination. The reading subtest includes but is not limited to oral reading, comprehension, word analysis, and vocabulary. Language arts includes but is not limited to cursive handwriting, grammar, and spelling. Mathematics includes but is not limited to rote counting, numeral recognition, Roman numerals, decimals, and measurements. Choosing the right subtests is extremely important. In order to get the information you want, you need to choose the correct subtest to test that information. When choosing the subtests, consider the following questions. Which assessments are the most relevant to the immediate concern? Which assessments are the most relevant for the reason for the result? Which assessments are going to give you the most valuable information in the allotted time frame? Which assessments can be given in the setting available? Which assessments meet the needs and requirements of the programs? And after answering all of these questions, you should have a good idea of which assessments are going to be needed to gain the information. The main reason for the Brigance Comprehensive Inventory of Basic Skills Revised Version is to identify the strengths and weaknesses of the students being assessed. Knowing these details about the students allows growth potential for the students and the teachers. Another important reason to use this assessment is to help detect learning disabilities in students. After this assessment, you should be able to tell which areas students are struggling in, and you, as a teacher, will know to what extent they are struggling. Once the assessments have been taken, the next step is to interpret the data. Proper data interpretation is an important aspect in order to get the correct information out of the assessments. The first thing you are going to look at is the scores. Keeping those records will be important to watch students' growth and development in different academic areas. What is important to remember when looking at the scores is that there may have been factors that impacted the student's performance. Poor testing conditions, language or cultural barriers, physical problems, and undiagnosed disabilities can all affect the outcomes of the assessments. Once these potential factors have been thought out and combed through, the data can give you a lot of different information. The data received can help with instructional planning, tracking student progress, and meeting student needs. The data you get from the assessments should be the most reliable. It is important for the data to be reliable for many different reasons. Again, you want to know the student's strengths and weaknesses, so it is going to be important to have reliable scores from the assessments. The possibility for detecting learning disabilities is another reason you want these assessment results to be reliable. Without reliable data, you could over or underdiagnose a student. The data can also lend help to curriculum development by allowing you, as a teacher, to see which areas students need more help in. Along with this, you can develop lesson plans more accurately based on this information. Lastly, reliable data will allow you to track student progress and continue to keep students on track within their grade levels.